Good morning. Coffee with Pastor Dan. And how are you today? Yes, if you're like most of us, you're kind of tired of the lockdown, maybe, wanting to go back to work for some of us. And most are glad we're not working, and we're grateful we're being paid. And, no matter what your circumstance is, you can always enjoy the presence of God in your life, working or at home, wherever you're at. I want to talk about whose hand would you put yourself into? Many people put their hand and their trust in the government. And to some degree, the government can do certain things, usually not well. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved in government. It doesn't matter which party's involved. It's just the way government gets set up. I worked a lot with tribes over the years, and they pointed out that if you take a nickel from the government being sent, by the time it trickles down, they get 1 penny out of it. 1/5 of that actually comes to them for services. And there's all this other stuff that's overhead. So it's not really efficient nor real effective. But government can protect and can do certain things. It just doesn't always solve all of our problems. Let's just face that. And so a lot of us, we try to put our trust in government. That's kind of like putting your trust in the chariots of Egypt instead of your trust in God. And so when we're faced with the challenge to take and go out and take on that which is far greater than our ability, we're often going to look for somebody that's got more talent maybe, or more skill, or more money, or whatever. And you think about that, that's often a downfall, because people are fallible. People can't always keep their promises, and people aren't always trustworthy, believe it or not. So if you were ready to make your last meal, and this is it, once you eat this, you're going to starve because there's a great famine in the land and there's just no more oil and flour left. And the prophet says, make a cake and feed me first, and you and your son will get to eat for the remainder of this famine. And that's exactly what happened. Well, would I have that kind of faith? Well, it's kind of that moment where, what do you got to lose? You get one meal and then you're going to die tomorrow or a few days later, or you trust God and place it into His hand. There was a situation where Jesus got 5,000 men. We're not counting the women and kids in those days. We just counted the heads of family. And they're hungry. And Jesus asked the disciples, hey, get some food for them. Well, Lord, even if we had all this money, it wouldn't be sufficient to take care of the size of a crowd. So go see what you can find. Well, there's a little guy that's got some bread and some fishes, enough maybe for his meal and maybe somebody else, depending how you. But he gave it to the Lord. And once the Lord had it in His hand and He began to break it, that small meal fed 5,000 men plus their wives and their kids. And there were still 12 baskets left over. See, sometimes I think we try to hold on too tight to things in life, when God's saying, let go, let me have control, and I can change the circumstance. We are often brought into circumstances and situations where to try to really control it only causes greater problems and has a temporary benefit, maybe, but long term it doesn't. And that's where we need to turn things over to the Lord in our life. When it's in our hands, it's limited to our ability. When it's in His hand, well, He has no limits, and His ability far exceeds ours. So sometimes we try very hard to hold on to something, and if we would just let it go to God, wow, what would happen? So as we begin to experiment in life and we begin to walk that walk of faith, It's often startling to people on the outside, and sometimes it's startling for us because, you plant something in the ground and then it doesn't grow overnight, but it will over time. So when we try to make and maintain and manipulate and do everything that we can to make something good happen or last as long as we can, we're fooling ourselves often. That's where we need that prayer time and hearing from God to what is it that you want us to do. And that faith will begin to rise and you can begin to see God intervene as we hand it to Him. I'm reminded of a story of an auction where there was this old violin that looked terrible. And the guy's trying to auction it, starting off at $5, Started off at maybe 15 and got down. He started going down instead of going up, He's getting down about $5 when this older gentleman walked up, picked up the violin, tweaked the strings, put it to his shoulder, and took the bow and began to play. And it was a magnificent sounding violin that ended up selling for thousands and thousands of dollars. Because see, what had happened before, it was just in the hands of the auctioneer, who really couldn't do much with it. But when he allowed the master to pick it up, a master violinist picks it up and plays it, it suddenly has value that the auctioneer had no way of getting for it. And if you think about that, when God's working in our life, there's a sound, there's a fragrance, there's a blessing that makes life invaluable. Otherwise, it's another day. Can't wait until it's Friday. Oh, it's Friday. I'm too tired to do anything really. The weekend's too short. And life just continues that way. But when our lives are placed in the hands of the Master, the beauty starts coming out. And that's just the way it is. Now, you can make it work for a while. You might make it for 5 years, 10 years, maybe 5 days, 5 minutes. But once it's in God's hands, our life is blessed here on earth and into eternity. So you've got nothing to fear by placing your life, your circumstances, your situation, your resources into God's hands and say, what do you want to do and how do you want to do it? And again, there's preachers who are going to tell you to give them money and then God will bless you. I'm not a fan of that. No, you give God where God wants you to give. And that might be giving some time to encourage an elderly family, a person or a young child or somebody needy. And that I really think God likes to bless more than the preacher. I'm a pastor, and the money's not mine, it's God's. If I'm in it for the money, I chose the wrong thing. And see, this is a problem. We sometimes focus everything in the world's standard of success and how much money and all that. But I'm telling you, value that you can't measure in dollar and cents or in stats. That's how God works in our life. So place yourself, your circumstances, and your situations into the hands of the Master. And just see what He can do. He'll get you beyond where you would have ever gone on your own. And you will never regret it once you start living a life with your hand in the hand of our Lord, guiding you every step of the way. He's promised to be with you even unto the end of this age. Hey, you're in good company.